Hello, colleagues. This is our second video for this month, and we are going to be working on the tips we listed in the previous video. So here we go. The agenda for this video is the advantages of hybrid teaching, how to follow the teaching tips in video 1, and some further reading for you to continue learning. Which are the opportunities of hybrid teaching that it offers us? It gives us the opportunity to take advantage of the diverse context the learners are in, right? Some students are online, some students are in class, and you can put those two worlds together in the way if we make them work together, and we'll see that later. You can make your teaching and the learning visible to the parents, to the heads, to the community, to the learners, right? So we can have these sessions recorded, and we can ask the learners to go back and see the process they've been through. We can differentiate our teaching, addressing the different learners and the different teams of learners with different tasks according to what they need to learn to continue growing. And we can, in a way, facilitate parent involvement if they know what we are doing with the learners, how we are teaching, which are our techniques and strategies, so they can make the most of that to support their children. So from the tips from the previous video, the first one we have seen is that you don't need to plan two different courses for the two different contexts your learners are in. You have one course, you want one teacher, you have one group of learners in different contexts, but it's one group of learners, and you have one syllabus. So it's important for you to bear that in mind, okay? So how you do that? In your planning, it's a good thing if you make this clear, right? The timing, the tasks and activities you want to plan, and what things will be the in-person learners doing, what will be the students who are online doing, in order to reach the same aim. This is very important. Sometimes these two groups of people will be working together, we'll see that, but it's very, very, very important that you write it down in your lesson plan. Now, the other two tips that I want to focus on are how can the students participate meaningfully, the ones who are online, right, in what is happening in the classroom. This is very important, not to think that you are working with the learners in the classroom and the others are watching. No, we are all together in the course. We are all together learning here. So we have to put those two worlds together. And so you need to consider the assignments and the activities you have assigned in order to make this possible. So you need to plan group dynamics where in-person learners and the ones who are online work together. How can you do this? For example, making teamwork, two learners from the in-person context and two learners from the online session through a device, a computer, cell phones, whatever you have, you can put them together and make a team. The same happens with pairs, right? One student from each context working together and making a pair, or maybe it might happen with one team of learners from the in-person context, another team of learners from the online context. They work, they reach the conclusions, and then you put those two worlds together to exchange their conclusions. And you can work with learners, eliciting answers from a certain task or activity from the course book. You can elicit from the ones who are online, and you can elicit from the ones who are in person, at the same time working together in the same task, right? Now, another tip is to work with backward design. Why? Because with backward design, you end in mind. You design what you want your students to reach by the end of the course, or by the end of the lesson, or by the end of the month. And then from there, you start planning backwards. So in this backward design, you need to have a thorough needs analysis done. So you know exactly what each of your learners needs, right, in order to accomplish the best results. Then you have to plan the outcomes. According to the needs my learners have, what I want them to get or reach by the end of the course, the session, the lesson, you name it. And then how will I know my students have reached that goal? How do I know that my learners will have accomplished what I have thought? So be careful when you design, your outcomes, because they need to be measurable, right? The evidence of achievement that you describe should be measurable, right? So it's important for you to get that in mind. It's not that my learners will be able to, I don't know, make sentences, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What do you mean by those sentences? What kind of sentences? How many sentences? So describe that thoroughly. And then which will be the sequence of activities you will plan, right, in order to help them get to the goal you have decided for the end of the lesson. So which is the sequence, the didactic sequence you want them to follow, okay? Now, some other tips, right? Considering any limitations or challenges you might encounter with leading the in-person and remote students simultaneously. Now, one of the big challenges is technology. Do all your students have a good device, audio equipment for the sound, for visualizing what you're doing, right? So be careful and take into consideration that social distancing might be a difficulty in your classroom in the in-person sessions. So you need to check with your authorities about how far the students should be sitting. And because of that, maybe it's easier to help them work with another classmate online rather than another classmate from the in-person context, right? Because they are closer in the online than in person. So the use of masks might interfere with the pronunciation and such. So be careful and check with the authorities which are the guidelines you need to follow, right? And according to that, if they can take it away, if not, if they are 2 meters apart in class, they can take it away. And then if they get closer, they have to put it on again. Check that. And to access the online sessions, again, check all your learners have the possibility of connecting and they have a good device. And you have to find out which are the fears and the beliefs, right? The learners might have that maybe because I am at home, the teacher is not, I don't know, paying attention to me, or I'm left aside, or I'm not part of the group, right? Or the teachers, other teachers might have some fears and beliefs that you might find irrelevant, and parents as well. Which are the fears and the beliefs of the parents? Why is it that some parents have chosen not to send their kids to school? Or why is it that some parents actually have decided to send their kids to school and they don't want them to learn online? So it's important for you to know this. And regarding the tools and apps that are all around us and that's popped up in the last year, for you to work with that in class, it's important for you to browse a little bit and find which are the tools and apps that maybe suit you better and choose from there. You don't need to use all of them. You don't need to use too many. You need to use a very few amount of tools and apps, but which you find really, really useful. I left some links here for you to maybe browse a little bit and find the ones that suit you better, okay? And now, what can students do asynchronously in both environments? Which are the assignments you're going to plan for them to continue learning, right? Once the lesson has finished. So maybe the learners can meet in a team and share, plan, and exchange with other classmates about things that happen in class. Maybe they can involve nature somehow into the schoolwork. So maybe you want them to go around, collect some materials, or you want them to observe certain things from nature. It's very important to get in touch with nature nowadays, because they have been too far from nature for a long time. You have the learners have the possibility, because of some tools and apps we have with technology, of listening to audio recordings. So it's good for you to suggest some audio recordings for them to continue listening to English, even though they are not in class. The same happens with video recordings. So you have the possibility of asking them to watch a certain short story or an interview, or watch a scene from a film you're going to discuss later in the class with them. So it's important we make the best use of these tools. You can ask them to model things, use their hands, create things with their hands. And this is really, really important for them. So if you have the chance to ask them to, have some clay at home, or even Play-Doh, or build things with, wood, sticks, mud, ask them to build models of anything. You can be a model of an idea. You can make a model of something concrete, like a house or a building, or the houses of the three little pigs, whatever you want them to. Or you can ask them to make a model of what they think. How would they represent an abstract concept, as, for example, love, friendship, fear, I don't know, think it over. They can cook together, right? They can even share a recipe and cook together with some friends online as well, or cook on their own and then share the results. And they can read and tell stories, or they can listen to stories being read to them. So this is really, really important, right? For you to think of different ways that children can continue learning and can continue practicing their English, even though they are not in class. Now, tips for hybrid sessions that has to do with the unexpected. Are you prepared to deal with the unexpected? The best way is to expect the unexpected, because things happen in the classroom. So how can you be prepared for this? The only way is to be prepared. Plan your lessons, plan thoroughly, because when you have everything very well planned, things might come up. So you might have a plan B. What happens if all of a sudden, I don't know, there is a blackout at school and the students who are online cannot connect, okay, cannot reach your classroom? Or some students suddenly, I don't know what happened at home, the device broke off, the internet, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. And are you ready for that? How are you going to solve that? So it's important for you to think about that. And remember, if you don't plan for success, you're planning failure. So plan your lessons thoroughly. Now, here are some further reading suggestions. You have two suggestions here. One is a YouTube video of somebody helping you to how to design and what to take into account when you are having in-person and online students together at the same time regarding technology, layout of the classroom, things you might need. And the other one has to do with some other tips from other teachers on putting these two worlds together in hybrid teaching. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.